check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA. And, of course, nationwide over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 866-729-3776. That's 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY. ESPN. Got a jam-packed show coming your way today. Coach Herm Edwards will be on the show with us. Our resident handicapper based out of Vegas, the one and only R.J. Bell, will be on the line with us to handicap Week 13 of the NFL season, Vegas style. There's some stuff to get into in regards to that. The LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers on a 10-game winning streak. You got a lot of people blustering about how they're a legitimate big-time threat to the Golden State Warriors. That's something that we can get into as the show progresses. I've got NFL on my mind. And it ain't just week 13 of the NFL season with the premier games like Philadelphia visiting Seattle, like Carolina going to New Orleans, and so on and so forth. Got the Rams playing, got the Chargers playing. I know all of that. Got the Jets playing. I know all of that. Got Eli Manning watching on the sidelines as Geno Smith takes his job. I know all of that. All of these things are things that have been labored and discussed and will be discussed. Obviously, we have to start off in an appropriate fashion. Dallas Cowboys won a game. Bravo. I mean, come on. I mean, listen to Jerry Jones. I mean, did you hear Jerry Jones talking about Dak Prescott after the game? Valor, just tremendous valor and talking about his value performance. Ladies and gentlemen, he was 11 for 22 for 102 yards. Yes, he threw for 2 touchdowns. That touchdown catch by Dez Bryant, his first in like the last 14 games, was a tremendous touchdown catch. Bravo to Dez Bryant, too. Welcome to the party. But, I mean, how valiant is it to hand the ball off 37 times? Because that's what he did. Morris ran the ball 27 times for 127 yards. Robert Smith ran the ball 10 times for 27 yards. Prescott himself ran it 5 times. Hand the ball over 37 times. I said Rod. I said Robert. I meant Rod. In terms of the running back. But let me say this. You know what the real story here is, right? Chocolate City, the nation's capital. I'm not sold on its quarterback, and I damn sure ain't sold on its coach. I know there's a penchant to be kind. I mean, when you got the great John Gruden as the voice of ESPN for Monday Night Football, he got a sibling. We want to be respectful. I don't want somebody to be respectful to my family member. I'm sure he would want it for his brother. Fair enough. I don't know about Jay Gruden. Is that cruel to say? I don't think so. I'm not being derogatory. I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm not sold. I'm not feeling this man. The Redskins are 5-7 on this season. They're done. It's over. You got guys that can't catch the ball. You got P. Ryan that couldn't get anything done yesterday. You don't have a running attack. You don't have guys that can catch. You damn near got guys that can't block. I know you've been saddled with injuries. I get it. I understand. But somehow, some way, there's always an excuse with these guys. I'm talking about the Washington Redskins. And I'm just not feeling them. And you do get to a point where you got to wonder. You got to wonder whether the right coach is there. You got to wonder whether the right quarterback is there. That's right, I said it. be honest about something here. And I've used this analogy, and I'll use it for y'all right now. We can look at Jay Gruden, whose record is 26-33 as a head football coach in the National Football League. This is going to be his 4th year. 4 complete years. It'll be 1 playoff appearance. That's it. And that year they were 9-7. So he's 26-33-1. He's won 44% of his games as a head football coach. When do we start asking questions about him? Because if you look at Kirk Cousins, you know people are going to rave about him, right? You know they're going to walk around talking about, well, Kirk Cousins can really, really play. I mean, Stephen A., what are you talking about? I mean, what's the matter with you, Stephen A.? I mean, come on. Can you get it together, please? Yeah, they're 5-7, but that's not his fault. I mean, you're talking about Kirk Cousins here. You're talking about a guy that's completing better than 66% of his passes. That's what you're talking about. They've got the 12th ranked passing attack. Yeah, that could be better, but that's not his fault. He's Kirk Cousins. 66.6% of his passes completed. 3,289 yards passing thus far. 21 touchdowns, just 8 interceptions. 99 quarterback rating. Yeah, the QBR, Stephen A. It could be better than 55, but that's not his fault, Stephen A. Oh, shut up. Let me tell you something about Kirk Cousins. Mr. Franchise Quarterback. Mr. $24 million man in back-to-back seasons. This brother has made guaranteed over $48 million in 2 years. And the Redskins don't have a damn playoff game to show for. I didn't even say a playoff win. I said a playoff game. They don't have a playoff game to show for it. Not last year and damn sure not this year. Here's Kirk Cousins. This is my thing, Kirk Cousins, and I challenge anybody out there, anybody that knows anything about football, I challenge anybody to disagree with me on this. Kirk Cousins, is he not that dude that'll sit up there, he'll throw for 350 yards. He'll complete more than 65% of his passes. He'll get you a couple of touchdowns, too. Somehow, some way, he'll keep you close. And then when it really, really counts, you're up 4 on the Washington Redskins. Kirk Cousins, he could have Jordan Reed available. He could have Crowder available. He could have Doxson available, all right? He could have whatever you need. He could have whatever you need. But Kirk Cousins is that guy that'll sit up there, first down, 80 yards to go, 20-yard line, 3 minutes left in the game, you're down 4. Kirk Cousins will complete 4 or 5 beautiful passes. Get you down to about the 15 or the 10-yard line and then throw a damn interception. That is just what he does. That's what I see. I'm not saying he's a scrub. He's not a scrub. He's a damn good quarterback in terms of ability. But that it factor, that special commodity that only those guys with the it factor have, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I never have with this guy. I never have. Washington Redskins are a flagrant disappointment. Yeah, injuries were an excuse this year. What was it last year? What was it last year? There's just always something with them. And if you're Jerry Jones, you don't mind because you beat up on them last night. Dak Prescott, Alfred Morris running the ball, touchdown, catch to Dez Bryant, Cole Beasley and the crew trying to get loose. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys won a game with Jason Witten catching just 1 pass for 8 yards. Somehow, some way, they got it done. And Jerry Jones, here he is stealing headlines. Why? You know why? Because he's saying, quote, very, very pleased with what we saw. Valiant effort, blah, 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 blah. Really? You played the Redskins. Dallas still stinks without Ezekiel Elliott. He came into last night's game, getting outscored 92-22 in the previous 3 games. Didn't even score in double digits. And then he ran into the Redskins. And it looked like the skies opened and heaven had arrived. I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised. 866-729-3776. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Listen, I'm looking at some of these games this weekend, and I mean, it's a lot of good ones, man. It's a lot of good ones to get into. You got Minnesota at Atlanta. That's going to be a good game. I mean, we're going to find out what Atlanta's made of because we know this Minnesota defense is no joke. I'm paying attention to that. Buffalo and New England, not so much, but I guess, Buffalo, now that Tyrod Taylor's back in the mix and the game is in Buffalo, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Then you got Kansas City and the Jets. Mahomes, is he going to be in the lineup? Is Alex Smith finally going to get benched? The way Kansas City's offense has been looking, even though their problems are on defense, too, particularly since Eric Berry's been out. And, you got a whole bunch of problems with Kansas City right now. I mean, I'm just looking at it. Chargers, that's another win coming up because they've got Cleveland coming into the house. I mean, that's another win. Chargers might win the AFC West. And if you're Cleveland, Hugh Jackson, 1-26 as head coach for the Cleveland Browns. My condolences. Carolina's a big game at New Orleans. The Rams playing against Arizona. Let's see what happens on that road game. The Giants, Geno Smith is starting ahead of Eli. Sunday Night Football, can't wait. Philadelphia versus Seattle. It's a lot of stuff to look at here. No question about it. And, of course, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Monday night. Let's get to the phones. 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to JP in Brooklyn. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, JP?
You see, Stephen A., that's why I respect you. I have a lot of respect for you. You don't run away from the tough questions. Stephen A. Smith? Yeah, Stephen. Now, Stephen, tell me, what is this Geno Smith issue about? Why did we bring him to New York? Isn't it to be a backup quarterback? Or is this about Colin Kaepernick? We didn't want to address the Colin Kaepernick issue, so you know what? Let's hurry up, bring anybody in. Don't worry. We're going to the Super Bowl. We don't have to worry about Geno Smith starting anyway. Tell me, now Geno Smith is starting. Everybody and their mother have a comment about this man. It's horrible. It's horrible the way we're treating him. He has a family. He has a girlfriend. He has friends who respect him.
Oh, stop, JP, stop right there. First of all, you just talked about Geno Smith has a family, right? Is that what you're saying?
Just like Eli Manning. You said, he has a sibling. You just said that. I
didn't say anything about Eli. I didn't say anything about Eli Manning's family. I don't.
No.
Yeah.
You didn't say that.
Okay.
Earlier, I was listening to the show.
Let me say this. Let me say this. I want to make sure I'm following you because you piqued my interest here, JP. You're saying that the New York Giants went out and brought on Geno Smith to quell the momentum for Colin Kaepernick potentially getting a backup job with the Giants. Correct?
Now the owner.
Let me say this to you. I don't know if you're correct. Here's why. If the Giants had never commented on it, JP, you'd have something there because it'd be a bit slick and inexplicable. The problem with your explanation is that Mara did come out and acknowledge that he had never seen the vitriol via emails and phone messages left to the New York Giants than he saw at the notion of bringing on Colin Kaepernick. So this was a man who confessed on behalf of the organization publicly that there were people who said they would turn away from the New York Giants as an organization if Colin Kaepernick was brought on. So I think your argument would have more potency if Mara never publicly acknowledged that. But because he did, he didn't have to go out and sign Geno Smith for that reason, because he had already made it clear we weren't going to bring Kaepernick on because the people were against him.
Well, Stephen A., you have a responsibility to point that out to people who don't understand what's really going on. Okay, we bring in on Geno Smith, we bringing him up, nobody should have nothing to say about this because we brought him here to be a backup quarterback. He won the position. He's the most qualified person to, come and play this weekend. Right now, Eli Manning, I don't understand why people are upset. Look what the Dallas Cowgirls did to,
Well, stop right there. Stop right there. Stop. Don't make this into a bigger issue than what it is. Here's what it comes down to. We've seen Geno Smith, albeit in a Jets uniform instead of the Giants. We've seen him in this city at that stadium disappoint grotesquely. I don't believe this is an issue if Davis Webb is the quarterback. I think the issue is that you benched Eli Manning for Geno. If it were for anybody else, somebody that you wanted to see would have an opportunity to be the quarterback of the future for this franchise, I don't think you would get any resistance. I think the resistance emanates from the fact that Geno is the option that folks are leaning on because let's face reality, fair or unfair, JP, nobody has faith in Geno in New York. Not in New York. Anywhere else, fine. But in New York City, you're not going to find people that have support for Geno.
You making my point, Stephen A. You making my point.
Hurry up, because I got to get to other callers. Make your point real quick. Go ahead.
They bought Geno Smith only to quiet down the noise about Colin Kaepernick. And
got
that's
it.
Wrong.
Got it. I understand. I don't think that's correct, and I don't think we can prove that because they didn't have to do that because they openly admitted that they were not going to bring on Colin Kaepernick because of the vitriol aimed in his direction. They thought it was bad for business, and unlike the other organizations, the Giants actually admitted it. So I don't think they had that to worry about. But I get your point, and I respect it. Let's go to Paul. You're live at Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Paul?
How you doing, Stephen A.? I'm glad you took my call. Straight to the point. Kirk Cousins and Gruden has to go. I mean, I don't know where we're going to go from there, but they have to go. They're not clicking. Kurt's not growing. Basically what you said the other day, he's just a win a game, lose a game quarterback, and I shouldn't even watch the game like you said yesterday. But bring in Eli Manning, put some pieces around him, get another coach. You get Eli going, Eli still can play. And that's just my opinion. Well,
we could say Eli play, but there are a lot of people that have seen him in practice. There are a lot of people that watch him during games. They say he's not the same quarterback. My point is that, listen, for those out there that want to be ultra-sensitive to Geno Smith, I have nothing against Geno Smith. I don't know the man from a can of paint. I've met him a few times. I wish him nothing but the best. I didn't think he needed to drop as low as he dropped when he came out of West Virginia. But I do believe that in the city of New York, this city has every right not to have any faith in him, because they've seen him enough with the New York Jets. And by the way, that IK Enampala altercation that ultimately left him with a broken jaw and derailed the season because it led to him losing his starting job to Ryan Fitzpatrick, Geno Smith has nobody to blame for that but himself. Yep. So when I saw Josina Anderson, our NFL reporter, come into his defense talking about it's not fair, give him a chance, et cetera, because in Impala, a situation derailed him. Well, whose fault was that? You owe the brother $600. You gonna get in the face of a 250-pound linebacker that you owe money to and gonna say, like, what you gonna do about it? What the hell you think is gonna happen? You see what I'm saying, Paul?
Yeah.
I mean, damn.
We'll take Geno Smith. He can come down to D.C. Right now, we'll take anybody.
You don't mean that. You can't. Listen.
Can't do it, man.
I'm not sold on Kirk Cousins like that either. But you can't tell me you think Geno Smith would be a better option than Kirk Cousins. You're going too far. You're going too far, Paul. Come on now. Come on now. Reel it back.
Last night, because that was the worst Redskins football I've ever seen.
But it wasn't Geno's fault. The receivers was dropping passes last night. Sure. Yeah. Well.
All
right. I appreciate it, though.
You need to learn to make adjustments, too.
I got it. I got it. It's hard for him to make adjustments. In fairness to him, Jordan Reed's out last night, hamstring injury. Trent Williams was, he came into the game questionable. You had some problems, man. You had some problems.
Thomas out. Yeah.
Thompson's out.
You,
yeah.
Appreciate
Take it easy, man. 866-SAY-ESPN. More of your phone calls in a minute. And Herm Edwards coming up as well. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line. NFL analyst extraordinaire, former head coach for the New York Jets and the Kansas City Chiefs, the one and only Coach Herm Edwards is with yours truly right now. What's up, Coach? How are you, sir?
We're good, and you know what? I watched you today on First Take, obviously, and I knew the Cowboy thing was going to come up because all those Cowboy fans are hollering and screaming.
Ain't that something? 6-6, and they raving about the Cowboys. And Dak Prescott valor, Coach. That's the word Max Kellerman used, valor, because he completed 11 of 22 passes for 102 yards after hurting his hand. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. There's always something with the Cowboys. But what did you think about what you saw from them last night?
Well, Stephen A., they played to their strength, and their strength is their offensive line, and they were intact last night for the most part. And, when you run it 42 times and you're consistent with it, you're going to control the game, and they did. They controlled the game for 32 minutes, ran for 180-plus yards. Morris ran for 4.7, and that protects their defense. They got some turnovers. The defense came alive there at the end, and with some sacks, and so they got a big punt return. So this was a must-win for both teams, and Dallas found a way to win a game that a lot of people picked Washington to win.
Coach, I'm not saying that the loss was the Redskins' fault. I mean, the loss was Kirk Cousins' fault. Please don't get me wrong. I saw receivers dropping passes. I saw other guys that just seemed ill-prepared to play. But I use this analogy explaining to Max Kellerman. When you're looking at Kirk Cousins, he's the kind of guy that'll keep you in the game. He'll complete a decent percentage, a good percentage of passes, 66, 67% of his passes. He'll get to 275 to 350 yards passing. He'll throw for a couple of touchdowns, right? He'll put some points up, Coach. Yep. But then you're down. You're down 4. You need a touchdown to win the game. He's got 80 yards to go with 2 to 3 minutes left. He'll drive you 70 yards and throw an interception. That's how I view Kirk Cousins. How do you view Kirk Cousins?
Well, you're right. I mean, he his career has been marred with some situations where you could have had a different opinion about him, or you keep the same opinion about him. And you're right. I mean, in big moments, this is when the elite guys make the big plays. I mean, that kind of separates everyone. He's a good quarterback, solid quarterback, but at times when he seems like he should close the game out or win the game, at times he falls short. And when you do that, that's the conversation about the guy.
We're talking to Herm Edwards right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. I'm seeing a couple of games that I'm interested in looking at this weekend. Minnesota, Atlanta.
Yes.
I'm looking at New England and Buffalo. We can't ignore that game. Of course, Kansas City is interesting because even though they're playing the New York Jets who are 4-7, you're kind of wondering whether or not this is going to be the last time we see Alex Smith before a move to Mahomes is made. The list just goes on and on. What game is standing out in your mind, Coach?
Well, I like that NFC South. Because it's going to be interesting when you think about Carolina, the Saints, and the Atlanta Falcons. Nice. All these teams are really in position to win 10 games.
And Carolina's playing the Saints. They're playing in New Orleans this weekend.
Yes. So this division is kind of one of those divisions where you're going, are 3 teams coming out of this division? Because they're all pretty good, and they got some tough games. And you make the point. The Saints, play Carolina at home, and this is a big game for Carolina. Atlanta has to play the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, you got to win now. You can't lose because you're running out of games.
Is Carolina better than they were this year than they were last year, or is it just that their defense is just that formidable?
Their defense is that formidable, but Cam is playing better because he's gotten back to playing like Cam. He's inconsistent still. I agree with that. He's inconsistent passing it at times. Mm-hmm. But McCaffrey has helped him. He's using his legs more. He's taking the game over. And I think they finally said, look, we got to let him be him. Because if we ask him to drop back and, not use his legs, that's not his strength. And so he's kind of put the team on his back. And when he plays good, Stephen A., they're going to have a chance to win now.
Talking to Herm Edwards right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. You know, I had a lot of faith in the Saints. I still do to some degree because they got Drew Brees, one of the great quarterbacks, a future Hall of Famer. But I didn't like what I saw against the Rams last week. Kamara's big time, no doubt. And that running game with him and Ingram is definitely formidable. You would think a squad with Drew Brees as your quarterback with a running game like that would have handled their business a little bit better in Los Angeles last weekend against the Rams. That did not happen. Why not, Coach?
Because the Rams are a good team. And we don't want to say that because what happened to them last year, they had the quarterback that a lot of people felt after last season was wrong with this guy. Todd Gurley didn't run well. They've done a nice job there. They came in and brought some new offensive linemen, a couple guys brought center and Whitmore in as a tackle. Quarterback all of a sudden is playing a lot better. Their defense is got some guys over there, as we know. Aaron Donald is the best three technique in the league. And so they played a good team. You know, this was a Ram team that just got beat on the road in Minnesota. So they had something to prove, too. Look, the Saints have been on, a 7-8 game winning streak. It was time for them to lose a game eventually, and they lost a game against a good team, by the way.
You know, it's interesting because you talk about the Rams, and the Rams are pretty good. But if you had to pick a quarterback between Carson Wentz and Jared Goff this year, who would it be?
Oh, it'd be Carson Wentz.
Yes. Is it that easy to make that call? Is what I'm asking.
For me, yeah. He's a big man, Stephen A. He's 6'5", 235, 240, athletic. I mean, he's a big guy, good arm. You know, I would take him, no doubt.
Let's transition to the AFC, Coach, before we get on. Actually, I'm going to stay in the NFC for a quick second because I want to get your feelings about what transpired with Eli Manning, the Giants' decision to bench Eli Manning in favor of Geno Smith. Listen, Eli Manning clearly has not looked good. There is no doubt about that. He's regressed in recent memory. You have a lot of people saying that, but no offensive line, no running game, receivers getting hurt. That has something to do with it, too. What did you think about what the Giants did, and just as important, how they handled it?
Well, I don't think they handled it very well at all. You're talking about a guy that's played 210 games. He's lined up every week for them. He has been the face of this franchise through the good times, through the bad times. And there's a rule of thumb that I live by. You treat everyone fair, but you don't treat everyone the same. He goes in the category, you don't treat him the same. He needs to go out the way he wants to go out. And that's the conversation you have with him. You can say, hey, Eli, look, we're trying to look at other quarterbacks, but this is what we want to do. Are you okay with that? And if he says, no, Coach, I want to finish this thing out. I know we're 2-9, but I'm still trying to win a football game for the New York Giants. If you're the head coach, you should go, okay, Eli, I got it.
So, in other words, you're saying leave him in no matter what. He's earned that, and you leave him in. What?
Yeah. If he's struggling, Stephen A., and it's a game where you're blowing people out, or you're getting blown out in the fourth quarter, you bring those guys in there. Sure. But he's the guy. He's your guy.
Herm Edwards right
here
with
Stephen A. He goes out on his terms. Stephen A., he gets to go out on his terms.
I will say this. I don't have a problem. If the Giants had come to Eli Manning and said, look, Davis, where we need to see what he's got. We need to use these last few games to see what he's got, Eli. That's why we're benching you, just because we want to find out what this guy has. Okay? That's different. The problem is that they didn't do that. They sat up there and said, we need you to sit down because we want to put in a guy that New York has seen more than enough of to know that he's not the future of this franchise. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, and the next thing, too, Stephen A., you make a point there, but here's the other point that I think we fail to realize. When you look at this situation, it's real simple. If he was struggling in a game, and we've seen this happen to Tom Brady, okay, he got taken out of the game. I remember when in Kansas City 2 years ago, they said it was the demise, or it was 3 years ago, whatever it was the demise of Tom Brady. He's done. And Coach took him out of the game, and the next week they asked him and said, well, is Tom Brady no longer the starter? And he said, no, Tom Brady's the starter. So he's playing base. He's taking him out of the game.
Let's transition to the AFC real quick, Coach. We all know that New England's the class of the AFC. Have the Steelers inched closer to being able to knock them off, or is it the same old based on what we've seen in the past?
They've inched closer. They're an emotional team. They're a young team. And sometimes they're a very talented team. And they go in the game sometimes not all the way focused in. And I think that's where Mike sometimes struggles with these guys. is that, hey, look, we should play to a certain standard. We shouldn't play below that standard. And sometimes it's hard for these guys to do that. And they catch themselves in games when they're doing that. But here, they're talented enough to get out of it because they got so much talent, especially on offense. And that's what they kind of do. It gets close at the end, and they go, okay, we can win this. Rather than, hey, man, let's just finish the game. Let's just knock these guys out of the way. Let's handle our business. But they are built to play the Patriots, especially on defense. They're built to do that now.
Often people ask who's the biggest threat to the Patriots, and folks say the Steelers. Well, here's a different question. Who's the biggest threat to the Patriots and the Steelers in the AFC?
Oh, in the AFC. Defensively, but the problem is this, though, they have no offense. It's Jacksonville, defensively. Right. But they can't score enough points. They can keep it a low-scoring game and control the game and the clock. They got a chance because they're so dominant on defense. Right. They are a dominant defense. It ain't even close.
Coach, before I let you get on out of here, obviously we wanted to have you on here. Nothing's final, nothing's finite, nothing's definitive or whatever, but it is quite possible that this may very well be the last day that I'm interviewing you as an NFL analyst for ESPN, because you may be becoming a college football head coach. I mean, is there anything that you can tell us? I mean, listen, first of all, I want to know the consideration alone. You got to be happy about it. I'm happy for you if you're happy. I want to know what you can tell us. I want to know how you're feeling.
Well, obviously an opportunity, and I've had a lot of opportunities. You know that. We've talked about that before. This is kind of a unique one. And, you got to look at it. There's no doubt about it. And I'm going to have a conversation, and this weekend I'll know. But regardless of what happens, I am always going to be available for your show. You know that.
I know that, Coach.
Because we that way. You know that, my friend.
Well, listen, as long as it makes you happy, I'm happy for you. If this is the last time that I'm interviewing you as an NFL analyst for ESPN because you're the new head football coach at Arizona State, I want to be the first to say congratulations. They don't even know what kind of a man they're getting. I know you're a hell of a football coach, but you're an even better person. I love you dearly, and I'm wishing you nothing but the best for you and your family. Whatever makes you happy, I'm happy for you.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate those kind words, and I'll be talking to you. You know that.
Absolutely. Take it easy, Coach. We'll talk soon. One and only Coach Herm Edwards right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. That was Coach Herm Edwards. I said NFL analyst for ESPN. We don't know what we'll be calling him this time next week. We'll see. Whatever it is, he'll deserve it. Y'all have no idea what a great, great man that man is. You really, really don't understand. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Coming at you in a minute.
Want to be a part of the show? It's Stephen A. Up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
49 minutes past hour number 1 back in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. R.J. Bell, resident handicapper based out of Vegas. He'll be on the show with us, founder for pregame.com. He'll be on the show with us in hour number 2. Thanks again to Herm Edwards, Coach Herm Edwards, NFL analyst for ESPN. Hopefully soon to be head coach for the Arizona at Arizona State University. We'll see what happens over the weekend after he speaks to them. We'll be interested. We'll be following that as well. No question about it. Congratulations to him just for the strong consideration. On another note, before I get to the phones, Jimbo Fisher has resigned as head coach at Florida State. He is leaving Florida State to take on Texas A&M. Now, I want to state this very, very clearly. I'm a fan of Jimbo Fisher. Won a national championship in 2013, 14-0. Jameis Winston was his quarterback. Lost the very next year in the national semifinals, playoffs against Oregon when Mariota and the Oregon Ducks blew out Florida State at Pasadena. I was at that game. They were 13-1 that game. Last 2 seasons, he was 10-3, losing the Peach Bowl and winning the Orange Bowl last year. Both 10-3 seasons. This year, obviously, they've nosedived. They're 5-6. He's leaving. One of my boys, Champ, he said up there, he ain't done much since Jameis Winston left. I don't find 10-3 seasons to be that bad, but I understand the standard is the standard. And I'm alarmed, increasingly alarmed, because Jimbo Fisher's going to be the new head coach at Texas A&M, succeeding Kevin Sumlin. I applaud Jimbo Fisher's willingness to enter the SEC and compete against Nick Saban. I like that because I think a lot of coaches run from Nick Saban. Having said all of that, I notice that we got a whole bunch of college football job openings, and none of them are being filled by African-American coaches. None of them. Now, you got all these black students who are also student athletes in college football. And don't tell me we don't see a bunch of college football coaches who happen to be African Americans on various sidelines. None of them can be a head coach. None. You can't find one. If you all want people to stop bringing up words like racism and white privilege and so on and so forth, there's an easy resolution to everything. Fairness. Fairness. Can't find a black coach to interview for the Tennessee job? Got rid of your athletic director because he botched that whole situation. I'm just wondering. It's college football. It's student athletes. It's an institution of higher learning where we want to impart wisdom via tutelage and counseling and mentoring to young men. And each and every single time, not every single time, but most times, we have an opportunity to do the right things, particularly on a collegiate level. They dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. Far be it for me to want to see black men leading younger black men from time to time. I guess that's a criminal thought on my part, isn't it? I guess so, huh? 866-SAY-ESPN. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show, here with you for the next hour over the airways of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. RJ Bell, resident handicap out of Vegas, founder for pregame.com, the official odds maker for the Associated Press. He'll be on with us in approximately 13 minutes or so. Before then, I'll get back to some of your phone calls about the New York Giants, about this slate of NFL games that are taking place this weekend. I'll get into a little NBA action a little bit later on in the show. But I ended the first hour alluding to Jimbo Fisher. Congratulations to him. He's going to be the next head coach at Texas A&M. He's resigned his position at Florida State. He's departing for Texas A&M to join the SEC, where he'll be able to go up against Nick Saban probably every year. It'll be interesting to see how those matchups unfold. But I also talked about the paucity of African Americans coaching Division 1A football. I think the number out of 128 schools, the number now stands at 13. And sadly, that was a vast improvement compared to recent memory. I mean, years ago, just a few years back, they only had like 4 or 5. And in the interest of just recognition and being fair, allow me to read the names of the few coaches that there are, because God knows there ain't too many of them. Dino Babers for Syracuse. James Franklin doing an outstanding job at Penn State. Paul Haynes III coaching at Kent State in the Mid-American Conference. Mike Jenks for Bowling Green, also in the Mid-American Conference. So they've got 2 African-American coaches. Derek Mason at Vanderbilt in the SEC. Everybody knows how impossible it is for a Vanderbilt school. And as my former partner in crime, Skip Bayless, he's from that school, called it the Harvard or the Yale of the South. Scotty Montgomery for East Carolina. David Shore doing an outstanding job at Stanford. Lovie Smith at Illinois now. Charlie Strong, University of South Florida right now, doing a good job this year. Willie Taggart at Oregon. Frank Wilson at USTA. And, of course, Everett Withers at Texas State. As we all know, Kevin Sumlin lost his job at Texas A&M, so that number may be down to 12. 12 out of 128. 12 out of 128 programs. Vast majority of African-American athletes. 12 out of 128. I mean, you just can't make this up. In 2017, in college no less, where you want young men to be influenced beyond the field of play, to direct them towards a better path. And that's not to say only black coaches do it. White coaches do it all the time. Good men, good people, come in all colors and all ethnicities. Nobody's trying to imply that. Matter of fact, I'm trying to accentuate that. Because if we do admit and we do acknowledge that it comes in all colors, all shapes and sizes, all ethnicities, that means there's no excuse for having 12 black coaches out of 128. I've said my piece. For now, anyway. Todd, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hi, Stephen A. I was just called to make the point that 2 segments ago you talked to Herm Edwards, who is most likely going to be the head coach at Arizona State.
Yep.
And then the last segment, you said that nobody of African-American descent is even being considered.
Did I interview Herm Edwards? You know about Herm Edwards because I just interviewed him, right? Sir?
Thanks for taking the call.
Did I just interview him? I interviewed him, and I pointed it out. See, that punk of a caller just hung up because he knew I was about to get in his ass. Excuse my language, but it's necessary. Because that's that weak nonsense. So in other words, I interviewed Herm Edwards, where he acknowledges it, but because of slippage of the tongue, I said no one, figuratively speaking, and he wanted to take it literally to expose the discrepancy, to gloss over the fact that 12 out of 128 college football coaches happen to be black. See, this is the problem. That's why progress is so hard to come by, because you have weak, no good, you know what, that just called up, like that punk of a caller that just hung up like a wuss. It's because of that. Progress will never be made because, see, they don't want you to address and highlight the facts. 128 programs. 128. And Herm Edwards don't even have the job yet, by the way. It hasn't officially been offered to him, so we don't know. We might turn around next week, and he still might be an analyst for ESPN. Where's that caller going to be then? That's the beauty of talk radio. When you're a real punk, you get to hide. You can give one name. You don't even give your last name. Nobody knows it's you. Mitch, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Stephen A? You'll feel better after this call, even though Edison can never beat Jamaica. Anyway, Tom Coughlin.
Stop right there. Everybody, man, I'm all over the country, bro. Edison is my high school that I went to in Queens. Jamaica's across the street. Why would you act like everybody knows that, Mitch?
That's a personal thing, bro. You got
to let the audience know. If you're going to say Edison, your high school can't be your rival, Jamaica. You got to let the audience know. Now, go ahead.
All right, man. All right. Yo, the best players on the Giants at the time, Tiki Barber, Michael Strahan, and the whole locker room hated Tom Coughlin. Hated him. And that was open in the media. Everybody knew it. It was so bad that Tiki Barber quit the team, didn't even clean out his locker. My question to you is, even though I have a question about Michael Strahan in a minute, you got to answer that, is why do you think that Ben McAdoo is going to be fired, knowing the tradition of the New York Giants not to fire a coach, even though he's lost the team? And I don't believe
let me answer that question. Because what you were talking about is the likability factor to structure, discipline, and a proven competent coach in Coughlin, who at Jacksonville prior to arriving in New York had a good and respectable reputation. In the case of Ben McAdoo, it's not just that the players don't like him or don't respect him, because they think he's incompetent. I've been told that you've had players tell him that to his face. That's your issue. They don't think he know what the hell he's doing.
Okay, 11-9 USA Today, 6 players came out on his side, and I'm talking about Landon Collins.
Stop. Your question was asked and answered. I don't give a damn about those 6 players. There's a whole bunch of others that feel otherwise. It's a locker room divided. He's done. There's no way Ben McAdoo is coming back. Now, what was your question? What was your other question? Because I got to get ready to go. I
know that. Michael Strahan, will you please take him to Barney's? Because the stuff he's doing to them on Fox News, he got him dressed like the Bay City Rollers, man. It's ridiculous. You can't watch the TV.
Michael Strahan is on Good Morning America for ABC, and he's on Fox NFL Sunday, not Fox News.
So I meant to say Fox Sports. He's got Jimmy. He's got Howie dressing.
All right, Mitch. Have a nice day. Who the hell are you, the fashion police? Go someplace, man. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Our resident handicap out of Vegas, one and only RJ Bell. He's up next. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
16 minutes past hour number 2 back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest, handicapping games Vegas Styles. He's the founder for pregame.com, who's the exclusive odds provider to the Associated Press. His Twitter handle is @RJInVegas. I'm talking about the one and only RJ Bell, who shows up on this show every Friday to preview the week of the NFL season. This is week 13. RJ Bell is live with us right now. What's going on, RJ? How you doing, buddy?
I never miss a week with you, Steven.
Appreciate it, buddy. Let's get right to it. Let's talk college football for a second here, because we've got Clemson and Oklahoma, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Miami, chances to make the playoffs. Tell me, what is Vegas thinking on all of that?
Well, listen, there's a lot of teams that's win and in, right? SEC title game, win and in. ACC, same thing. Wisconsin wins, they're in. Oklahoma wins, they're in. If all that happens, specifically Wisconsin wins and Oklahoma wins, I see no real chance that Bama could make it. Where it gets interesting is if Ohio State, who's favored by about 6 points over Wisconsin, now it's the Buckeyes or Bama. My thought was before Tuesday, it was 50-50 in that spot. Now it looks like Bama would have a big advantage based on the committee putting the Buckeyes 8th.
What if Clemson loses? They'd have 2 losses on the season.
Yeah, but
or Auburn, they'd have 3.
I understand. Well, 3, you're out, right? But I think even with 2, if you lose your last game, I mean, look at Miami, right? You could make the case if Miami would have not gotten beat or lost to Pitt, and if they would have lost in the ACC championship game, they would have only had the 1 loss, but no one was talking about them making it. It's really hard to lose that last game and make it.
RJ Bell right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's get to these NFL games. Let's get right to it, man. Go one by one, right down the list. Baltimore Ravens, who've been playing better, by the way, favored by 3, hosting the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I lean towards the Ravens here. Here's why. Lions can only throw the ball. They don't run effectively at all, and the Ravens have one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. Now, listen, Flacco may be the worst quarterback right now in the NFL. I think low-scoring game, lean Ravens.
Hold on. Flacco? You mean not Jay Cutler?
Well, listen, let's use this stat. Yards per attempt. So every time you drop back, how many yards do you gain? Right now, number 32, the worst in the NFL, is Flacco. 4.6 yards every attempt. And by the way, number 31, the Browns, they're 5.0. So if Kaiser is better than you in a key stat, you're probably the worst.
Chicago Bears favored by 3, hosting the San Francisco 49ers.
I like the 49ers here. I mean, the Bears have been horrible as a favorite under John Fox. 6 times favored, like this week. 0-6 against the spread, and they lost all 6 of those games. So think about it, Stephen A. 6 times Vegas said, Bears, you're supposed to win, and all 6 times they lost the game. Garoppolo, I don't think he's going to make a huge difference, but I think the energy that comes with Garoppolo is going to make a difference for the 49ers. And let me be clear, I think Garoppolo long-term is going to be a big upgrade for the 49ers. I just think he hasn't been there long enough to learn the offense. So I still, though, lean 49ers.
Atlanta Falcons favored by 3, hosting the Minnesota Vikings.
I like the Vikings here. First, let's get it straight. The Falcons have been bet by the professionals here in Vegas more than any other team this season. It's a favorite of the wise guys, the Falcons, and it's because of the stats. Atlanta is number 1 net yards per play, which is a favorite of the wise guy, number 1 in the NFL. But I think the Vikings, quite frankly, are a slightly better team. We know that home field advantage is worth 3 points, so I'll take the better team getting 3 with the Vikings.
New England favored by 8.5 at Buffalo. Just no respect to the Buffalo Bills. 0.
Yeah, well, it is the Patriots, right? And what we know is that New England's defense, at least it seems like, is getting better. Last 7 opponents, they've held to 17 points or less. That's outstanding. But if you look at the yards per play defensively that they give up, number 31 in the NFL. So they're not giving up the points, but they're giving up the yards. That worries me. In the long run, I don't think that disconnect can hold, but it's been working, and if anyone can do it, it's Belichick. So I actually would lean. I don't like laying the lumber. You know that, Stephen A., but I would lean Pats here because I think the Bills, their defense looked good last week against Kansas City. I think that has more to do with Kansas City's offense, so I'm going to lean Pats laying the 8.5.
Broncos favored by just 1.5 at Miami.
Now check this out. Broncos have lost 7 straight. In the last 30 years of the NFL, they're only the 5th team to lose 7 straight and be favored on the road that 8th game. So, I mean, this is so...
That's all about Jay Cutler. That's all about Jay Cutler.
Yes, you're right. Cutler, Dolphins, one of the worst teams in the NFL, no doubt about it. Even though their record wasn't all that bad that long ago, Vegas didn't like him, and we saw that was probably true. I do like him here, though. I just think Denver is living on reputation. I think these teams are equally bad, and quite frankly, Miami at home should be favored by 2 or 3. We're getting 1.5, lean Dolphin.
Titans favored by 6.5, hosting the Houston Texans, obviously without Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I like Houston here. I believe this. Tennessee is the most overrated team in the NFL. Look at it. They're number 3 seed right now if playoffs started today in the AFC. But if you look at the advanced metrics, DVOA, for example, which is one people like, Tennessee is number 22 in the NFL. The Houston pass defense is a big problem, but I don't think Mariota is going to be able to exploit that. He's regressing, and Houston has won 6 of 7 versus the Titans. I'll take 6.5 with the Texans.
Green Bay Packers favored by 2.5, hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm assuming everybody's thinking that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, because why the hell would Huntley be your quarterback and you're favored to win by 2.5 points?
Listen, if Rodgers was coming back, this line would be much, much higher. He's worth about 10 points. So think about this. Right now, Green Bay's 2.5. If Rodgers came back, Steven, they'd be about 12.5 in this game against Tampa Bay. He's that valuable. Here's my question. Is Jameis Winston an upgrade? Because if he's less than 100%, because he was just injured, and he's a little bit rusty, and you look at how well Fitzpatrick was playing, relatively well, I'm not sure he's an upgrade here. So, to me, I find that interesting, and that's one of the reasons, even with Hundley, Packers are favored at home.
Kansas City Chiefs favored by 3 at the New York Jets. Will Alex Smith stay in this game from start to finish?
Well, I hope so, because I'm betting the Jets, and I don't think Alex Smith right now is playing all that well. I really do like the Jets. Listen, Kansas City started off awesome. They were on top of all of the power ratings. Last 6 games, everyone knows 1-5 straight up, but they're also 1-5 against the spread. And in those games, they've lost against the spread by more than 50 points combined. So by definition, the spread is expectation. They've fallen short of expectation, Kansas City, the last 6 games by over 50 points. The defense hasn't been good at any point this season. If you look at the Kansas City offense, last 3 games, they're 20th in the NFL. I think the Jets getting points, real value. I've already bet the Jets.
Saints favored by 4.5, hosting Carolina. I'm surprised by that, considering the way Carolina has been playing.
Well, remember, Stephen A., the Saints have one of the 4 or 5 best home field advantages in the NFL from the Vegas perspective. Typically, as we always say, 3 points. For the Saints, probably 4 points. And when they're winning, so if the Saints have a winning record when they're at home, check out this trend. 17-3-1 against the spread last 21. 17-3-1, because when that dome gets rocking, it's a huge home field advantage. Carolina's won 4 straight, but I think they're a little bit overrated. Olsen came back, their tight end, last week, but he looks like he's far from 100%. So I actually like the Saints here, laying 4.5.
Chargers favored by 14, hosting the Cleveland Browns. I mean, when I see something like that, I just sit there and say, Hugh Jackson, it was nice seeing you as a head coach. I don't see how it's going to last much longer.
I think you're right. Last 48 games for the Browns, they're 4-44. And they've only,
straight up.
Yeah, straight up. They've only covered about a third of those games during that time. And we've got history here. The Chargers are the first team since 2000 with a losing record in December to be favored by more than 13 points. So why December? It's because if you have a losing record this late in the season, it's pretty meaningful. And to be favored by 2 touchdowns, it really shows you, one, there's a lot of love for the Chargers as kind of a sneaky good team. But number 2, the Browns are the Browns. I'm staying away from this game because I can't bet the Browns, and this is just too much to be laying with a losing team. And that's what the Chargers are. As Parcells would say, that's what the record says they are.
Let's go a little quick on some of these last few games. Rams favored by 7 at Arizona.
To me, I don't want to bet against this Rams team because I think they have great momentum, but I don't want to lay 7 on the road because it's a young team that's not used to it, so I'm passing the game.
Raiders favored by 9, hosting the Eli Manning-less New York Giants, who now have Geno Smith.
Now, listen, you could say Manning was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this year, and I think that's true, but Vegas considers Geno Smith to be a 2.5-point downgrade, so even worse than Manning. And as soon as it was announced that Manning was out, the line went up for the Raiders, and I actually lean Raiders here because not only do I think it's Geno Smith is a problem, I think the energy and focus of the Giants because of this controversy this week is in question. Lean Raiders.
Philadelphia Eagles favored by 5.5 at Seattle. Explain that one.
Well, the Eagles have been dominant. I mean, if you look at it, they've won 9 straight. They've won 4 straight by 20-plus points. That's only the 9th team in the last 30 years to win 4 straight NFL games in the same season by 20-plus points. But I like Seattle here. This is the biggest underdog, getting 5.5 of any home game in Russell Wilson's career. And Seattle gets better as the year goes on. I know they're a little banged up, or maybe more than a little, but check this out. Seattle in December, last 6 seasons, 20-6 straight up, 25-1 against the spread. I like Seattle.
Steelers, last one. Steelers favored by 5 at Cincinnati.
All right, couple things point to Pittsburgh here. One, when Pittsburgh plays in Cincinnati, 15-2 straight up. On the road now, 15-2 straight up, 14-3 against the spread. So they're comfortable with that short trip. Number 2, Andy Dalton in primetime in his career, 5-12 straight up, with a passer rating of 78. In all other games, he's over 90. So they do drop off under the lights. That said, excuse me, I don't like Pittsburgh just because I think since he's playing a little better, I'm going to pass this one.
RJ Bell, founder for pregame.com, the official odds maker for the Associated Press. His Twitter handle is at RJ in Vegas. He's right here live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Appreciate you, buddy. Enjoy week 13 of the NFL season. Talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Back to your calls in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Back to the phones we go at 866-729-3776. By the way, I watched Tiger a little bit yesterday. I must admit, I was shocked at how good he looked. Tiger Woods, he still got to work on his short game, no doubt. A 3 under 69 is not bad. He was tied for 8th. I got it. But that swing of his, that follow through, is fluid and as perfect as it looked. I haven't seen Tiger swing like that since the last time he won a major, which is back in 2008. Haven't seen it. And I got news for you. It was really, really good to see. Now, I'm still in the mindset that, you got to give it up at some point. The flip side to it is that if he's strong enough to withstand the skepticism, the criticism or whatever, listen, here's the thing that Tiger needs to get. I don't think anybody. I think Tiger is in rarefied air right now. You know why, ladies and gentlemen? I don't think anybody's rooting against him. I legitimately believe no one is rooting against Tiger. Do y'all realize what Tiger means to us? How beautiful it would be for him to be back on the scene as a major champion, capturing the majors, chasing Jack Nicklaus' all-time record of 18 majors. Do you know what it would be like if Tiger started winning again? What that would do, not just for not just for golf, but the world of sports. Golfing is a niche sport. The avid lovers follow it. Everybody else don't give a damn. Everyone's going to watch Tiger. Everybody's going to watch Tiger. I wish him luck. I don't believe he can do it because I believe that when you've aged, and on top of it all, you're going up against a bunch of young lions who are no longer intimidated by you. I just find it hard to believe that he can overcome all of that and end up, winning. I just find it hard to believe. I really, really find it hard to believe. But I would tell you that even though I do find it hard to believe, I would tell you that I'm rooting for him. I really, really am. Back to the calls we go. Slew of NFL games to talk about. Let's go to David. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., what's going on, brother? It's good to hear your voice again on the phone. I am the only person that I've ever heard you say on air, whenever I call, put me through. I appreciate that.
No problem. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I got a couple of points. You called the Dallas Cowboy fans disgusting on First Take about a month ago, and I've been trying to get in touch with you ever since. I am not disgusting. I'm a boss. Another thing I want you to know that you need to probably record what I'm going to say next. You are a damn good actor. You know that? I've seen a couple of clips of you on watching
General Hospital? General Hospital?
Yeah, man. It's your time, Steven. It's your time, man. You are a damn good actor, man. You look right in the other actor's eyes. You don't pay no attention to the camera. It's your time in that acting game, man. You might want to
listen. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I can't take none of that credit. Maurice Bernard, who plays Sonny Corinthos, the star of General Hospital, him and Laura Wright, who plays Carly, and I mean, that whole staff, they're great, man. They teach me this stuff. I follow, especially Maurice Bernard. I just do what he tells me to do, man. I wish I could take credit for it. I wish I was a damn good actor, but I mean, I just been watching the soap for 40 years. I know him, and I know what he tells me, what he needs me to do. I couldn't have had a better teacher. Plus, I'm great friends with Eric Braeden, who plays Victor Newman on Young and the Restless as well. So the two biggest soap opera stars in America and arguably American history are two of my friends that teach me everything I know about it. So I got to give them credit. I can't take anything from them.
Well, you did damn good for the little bit that I seen. My last point is that you are the topic of conversation in the barbershop, and you know our conversation in the barbershop are the most important conversation on the planet. When I tell people that I'm a fan of yours, even though you hate the Cowboy fans and stuff like that, they get on me. But I'll be like, man, Stephen A. is the leading voice for us on the TV, on the radio, and I just want to say I appreciate you and I love you for what you're doing, and keep up the good work, man. I'm going to always be a fan, and I'm going to always listen to you for forever.
Thank you, bro.
As long as I can hear your voice.
I appreciate that. And listen, man, don't be complimenting me too much, because I don't want to return the favor. I got love for you, bro, but I don't want the world to know that because you're a Cowboys fan. I got to hide the fact that I got love for you, David. I got to hide it. I can't let everybody know that I actually like a Cowboy fan. So you got to go. I got to hang up on you now. I can't give you that kind of love because you love the Cowboys. I can't let people know that. But I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much in all seriousness. Muhammad, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, man.
Hey, Stephen A. I got a question and a quick point. The question is, why is the AFC so anemic, and why is the NFC so dynamic? From 2000 Super Bowl appearances, this is the AFC. The Ravens 2 times, Patriots 7 times, Steelers 3 times, Colts 2 times.
Well, I think what you're looking at. I think what you're looking at is the dominance of a couple of teams, but primarily the Patriots. I think that to answer the question directly, it's not that the AFC conference is inferior to the NFC. It's that the Patriots are so superior to everybody else. The longevity that they've established because of Tom Brady's presence with Bill Parcells, that's been, that's been a point that can't be eclipsed for the most part, and that's what the issue is. There's nobody in the NFC that has that combination of coach quarterback. Like in Green Bay, I like Mike McCarthy. He's no Bill Belichick. But I think that Aaron Rodgers is every bit as a bad man as Tom Brady, if not more so. Okay? The Sean Paytons and the Drew Brees, you expected that to materialize into more than one Super Bowl championship, but it didn't happen. Those are the kind of things that you got to think about. Those are the answers to your questions.
And second point, I don't think the Steelers have a chance against the Patriots this year.
I think they have a chance. Otherwise. I think if Joe Hayden, well, first of all, they have to prove it. You're right. If Joe Hayden could come back healthy, I think they have a chance, but they'll still be the underdog. New England would still be the favorite. I just think that the Steelers' defense is better than it's been in recent years, and as a result, with that high-powered offense, you want to give them a chance. But they're still not a team that should be favored over the Patriots. There's no doubt about that. Got to run. 866-SAY-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Back to the phones we go before we get on out of here. Only got a few minutes left to take your calls at the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio at 866-SAY-ESPN. Make your points quick and succinct, or I will do it for you. Let's go to Kenny in Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
How you doing, Stephen?
All right, go ahead, buddy.
Good. I just want to talk about the Jets. Here's what I think McCagnon should do this offseason. He's got a gold line. He's got $90 million. Throw as much money, max contract at Le'Veon Bell. He's a free agent this year. Try and sign him. Use the rest of the money. Try and fix up the holes in the offensive line. And then I think we try and draft Baker Mayfield. I like John Morton as our offensive coordinator.
You like Baker Mayfield as opposed to Rosen?
I don't think we're going to get Rosen. I think he's going to go before we get a pick.
Baker Mayfield. I don't. You know what? I got to admit to you, Kenny. The Johnny Manziel lookalike scares me.
Yeah,
he scares me.
I like to hope he's more Drew Brees than Johnny Manziel.
Okay, all right. Well, Drew Brees is class personified. We can't accuse Baker Mayfield of being that right now, can we?
I think he's got the attitude to bring you to New York, though.
Okay, you might have a point. I can't say you're wrong. I just don't know. I'm scared of that. Mike in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A.
Yeah.
Two quick points. One about the Giants. I seen it when they first put McAdoo as the head coach. He's a product of Aaron Rodgers. The guy was never qualified to be a head coach.
Okay.
He was a quarterback's coach back in Green Bay.
No
and
argument
he came
here.
to the Giants as an offensive coordinator.
No argument here. Go ahead.
I think they do that. I'm a Cowboys fan, by the way. Big
No.
mistake by pushing Conklin out. Big mistake.
Yeah,
now
I
to
agree.
my Cowboys.
Go
Now
ahead.
to my Cowboys. The Cowboys still very much into the wild card hunt. Out of all the teams left, they have. Listen. Out of all the teams left, they have one team over 500. I'm not even going to count Philly because they're going to have it locked up by next week, the division. So they're not even going to be able to play Week 17. So it's going to be a reversal for the Cowboys this year to get that win in Week 17 that they gave to the Eagles last year.
Mm-hmm.
If the Cowboys can win out, do you think they can make the wild card?
No. Because, listen, New Orleans is probably going to win the South. What about Carolina? What about, Atlanta? You've got the Rams in the West. What about Seattle?
Seattle, listen.
I'm saying you got three teams ahead of you. That's my only point. I'm saying you got three teams ahead of you. I don't think you'll end up with a better record than any of those three teams. That's my issue. Because I think the Cowboys are going to lose at least one more game. You ain't getting any better than 9-7.
Well, you look at it. The only team that you could say that we can lose to is Seattle, but we're playing Seattle in Dallas, and with no Legion of Boom. You're going to play with Earl Thomas on crutches, basically.
You're probably right. But the Dallas Cowboys will find a way to mess it up. They always do. Look at their situation now.
Hey,
like I told y'all.
I've been a big fan of you for years.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Vic, you're live with Stephen A. Go.
Hey, Stephen. So I'm talking about the black college coaches and the lack thereof in D1. And it's like this, bro. For they're not going to let us drive the Bentley, so to speak. It's a cash cow. It's about the bottom. It's not about the student athlete. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that.
Okay.
It's about who's going to give them the best opportunity in their eyes to run that cash cow, to drive that Bentley, right? That's what it's all about. And the thing about it, Stephen A., is how much longer are they going to give Shaka? Right? I know we're talking about college football.
Yeah, that college basketball. Shaka Smart at Texas, yeah? Yep.
Exactly.
Well, that's different. That's different. There's black coaches in college basketball now. And you can't deny that.
I can't deny it, but what my point is, though, for those big schools like Texas and Oklahoma and Ohio State and all these schools, it's about the cash cow. It's about who they want,
Well, Vic, let's move the conversation forward because I got to get ready to get on out of here. Let me say this to you, Vic. When I go to work every day, what I try to teach folks, kids and everybody else, and now I try to emphasize, particularly the African Americans, go to work every day with two goals in mind. How do I make my boss's money, and how do I get some of it? Because in the end, if we're acknowledging that it's about the cash cow, then you need to be the cow that brings the cash. And once you do that, it's harder to knock you off that pedestal.
Good. And Stephen A., let me say this real quick before I know
you only got
go.
10 seconds. Go.
Yeah. What you do every day has made me a better man, a better husband, and a better father. And I appreciate everything you do, sir. Please keep it up.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I wish I could say the same for myself. I'm not a husband. I think I'm a great dad, but I could still improve. Got a long ways to go. I'll work on it this weekend while I'm watching some football. Hope y'all do the same. Peace and love. Talk to you Monday.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.